lost. So I don't know. I followed the GPS, and it looked like it had the biking roads, but then the bike road stopped, and we went inside this tunnel, and I noticed it had the markings that hold like no way. So I figured this is not a place to bike. But if you look at the GPS, if you can film it, because I don't want to look like an asshole. Look, the GPS shows go inside the tunnel.
Yeah, but your GPS, is this for the car or
No,
is this?
this for walking.
Can you show us?
So I go dashboard, the bitch.
The
And
beach, yes.
Yeah, and I go walking
Yes.
uphill. And this is just the way it shows us. This we could have died. If a car come our way, we could have died, and this is dangerous, Apple. If you're fucking hearing me, I'm sorry for the backwards. But that was scary and that was dangerous, and people like see us and think we're assholes. But it's Apple guiding us this way.
The police is coming.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm telling the same as you. If anything happens with the police, I'm suing Apple, that's all.
Hi.
This is dangerous. And I'm blaming Apple for this, and I'm blaming them publicly.
But you have also brains, right?
What?
Yeah, you have also brains, right? When I first saw this internet video, to me it's more than just another funny internet video. To me it's a video that shows some sign of the times. Some sign of the times about how technology has impact on our lives every day. In this case, it's Apple's algorithm, the technology under the hood of this technology, under the hood of this navigation system. And it shows tourists around the city of Amsterdam, and it goes wrong. But algorithms like this, they're virtually everywhere in our society. We may not be aware that they are there. For instance, when you take your smartphone and you log on to your social media profile or any other newsfeed, there's an algorithm at work. Because this algorithm, it makes sure that you have a tailor-made newsfeed. A newsfeed that's personalized for you. Which is great, of course, because we all want personalized services in life. But it also means that this algorithm may actually define your view on the world. Because this algorithm selects what you see and what you don't. Another simple example is when you go into a supermarket and you use a self-scan register. There's also an algorithm at work. Because this algorithm feeds itself with data and then selects which groceries should be checked, which customers should be checked, and which can just move on. Now, another example is tax filings. It's that time of year again that you have to do your tax filing. And of course, tax authorities also use algorithms. They use algorithms for risk analysis. Based, again, on data, they determine which filings should be subject to further inspection because there's a risk of fraud or faulty filings. And even when buying a house these days, apparently there's tooling available that if you place your first bid on the house, you can actually be guided by an algorithm. That this algorithm tells you what the best bid, the best first bid on this house is. So that's one. Another thing I see in this internet video is that we trust technology by default. I mean, if you have ever been to this tunnel yourself, to the Piet Hein tunnel, you know this is not a place for cyclists. We all know. And it's a place for cars, of course, but we may actually find these American tourists a bit stupid, but we should also look into the mirror. Because isn't this what we do all the time ourselves as well? A very tiny, simple example. Most of us probably use a spell checker when using Word. But do you ever think about the suggestions? Probably not. Probably you just follow them blindly. We have trust in technology by default. And even in very complex situations, we have this trust. The self-driving car. There have been experiments that when you step into a self-driving vehicle for the first time, and this vehicle is actually one very complex, large algorithm, that the first 15 minutes or so, you're a bit uncomfortable. You're like, what's What's going on here? But after that, you're fully relaxed. You don't notice anything around you at all. You probably start watching a Netflix movie. So that's the second thing, that sign of the times. The third is that should something go wrong, and we've seen this in the video, it's never your own fault. It's always someone else's fault. In this case, it's Apple's fault. So let's sue Apple. So 3 things about this video. First of all, I noticed that we are addicted to technology. Second, we trust this technology by default. And third, we always blame someone else. Now, the question I have for you today is that if this technology is so dominant, we're moving into a new era. We used to say that Big Brother was watching us, and this is about privacy. George Orwell wrote it. But in reality, we're moving into a world where Big Brother is guiding us, where Big Brother is guiding us into our decisions. And the question I have for you today is Big Brother guiding us into the right direction? Now, to understand this topic, we must dig into technology just a little bit. And I will keep it very simple today. I will use a very simple example. Think of algorithms as baking an apple pie. If your grandmother bakes an apple pie, she's basically using an algorithm. Because an algorithm is nothing more than a set of instructions to get to a desired outcome, which is, in this case, the yummy apple pie. Now, if you tell your grandmother that you love her apple pie, but you would even love it better without the raisins inside, if she loves you, she might listen to you. And in technology terms, we would call such a feedback loop machine learning or even artificial intelligence. We also must think about trust and what trust actually is. And this is important because there is a very common misconception about trust. Many of us think that we trust people, organizations, governments, companies, because we know things about them, because we have information on them. But in reality, this couldn't be further away from the truth. Because in most cases, we put blind trust in people or in organizations. And again, a very simple example. If you go into a supermarket and you buy a pack of milk, what you do is you probably only check the date. And you have no information whatever on the quality of the milk. You don't know where it came from, and you're not interested in it. You just buy it, you consume it, that's it. And it's actually, when you buy this pack of milk, it's a leap into an unknown world. So trust is, every time you do that, you leap in an unknown world. And we do that hundreds of times every day. Because think of sitting here in this theater. None of you has thought before about the quality of this building and if it will not collapse on us today. Of course not. We couldn't do that. So we have blind trust in the quality of this building. We do that hundreds of times every day. But there's also another version of trust, and I call that dumb trust. And dumb trust is, of course, what happened in the video a few minutes ago. But dumb trust happens to us all the time. To us as well when we're using digital technology, such as apps on your smartphone. Because there is one vital difference between buying a pack of milk and using an app on your smartphone. When I buy this pack of milk, I don't have any information on the milk, but I do know that there's a system of checks and balances. I do know that there's quality inspection. I do know that there's experts looking into the production, looking into the logistics of this milk production. And that's why I can give my trust blind. Now let's move over to the digital world, the digital realm. How are these checks and balances in this digital world? Well, they're not so good. Of course, we have oversight bodies that look into digital technology, but they aim on things as privacy. There hardly is any audit or inspection on the question, does this technology actually do what it's supposed to do? There are no checks and balances, there are no quality inspectors, there are no oversight bodies looking into that. So, when I talk about this, you may think that I'm a bit of a pessimist because I talk about the negative side, about the risks, about what could go wrong. But I'm not. I'm an optimist when it comes to digital technology. I really think that we're just getting started when it comes to artificial intelligence or any other digital technology. And that in the next 5 to 10 years, we will see lots of opportunities to improve our lives, to make our lives easier, and to bring real value, for instance, in healthcare, real improvements. But we must make sure that the beautiful face wins from the ugly face, because historically, technology has always had two faces, a beautiful face and an ugly face. We could even think back of the Stone Age, when people, for the first time in history, had stone instruments. This was a perfect way for cooking or cutting trees. But it was also a very efficient way to kill your neighbor. Or think of nuclear energy. This nuclear invention is a fantastic way to produce massive amounts of energy. But it also brings along a lot of toxic waste, which takes ages to diminish in nature, which is a real problem. And the same is true for all this beautiful digital technology that is in our world now. And we must find a way to make sure that the beautiful face of this digital technology will dominate over the ugly face. Because as I just said, this whole concept of blind trust is everywhere around us. And it's beautiful, it's great, we should cherish it, it's the only way we can live. So if we really want the beautiful face of the digital technology to dominate, we should implement more checks and balances. We should look into the quality of all these systems, into the question of, do they actually do what they are supposed to do? Now, of course, the million-dollar question today is, how are we going to fix that? And to be honest, I don't have a simple success recipe today. It's really a wicked problem, and it has many perspectives. But I do know two things. One is that I hope and expect that in the next 5 to 10 years, we will start asking governments, politicians, companies, that they improve their checks and balances on developing digital technology, that they will actually implement quality inspection, that they will look into, that they will make sure that what they develop is robust. And there are, at this moment, politicians working on this. There are politicians working on creating oversight bodies in this area. Let's encourage them, because it's very important. And the second thing is that I also hope that the next time you use a self-scan register, or the next time you use a news feed on your app or in your social media, that at least you think back of today. And that at least you realize that there's an algorithm at work that may guide you, and that at least you start asking questions if all goes right. Because the best advice that we can give in this domain was given by this police officer in the video I just showed you. In perfect Dunglish, she said, "You have also brains." Thank you.